What's up, everyone? This is Medical Device Matt. Today I'm doing a day in the life, but a little bit different format. What I want to do today is do a day in the week. I really want to capture how each day is changing in medical device, which is a little bit unusual, right? You're not carting in at 9, working till 5, taking your lunch break. Every day is going to be a little bit different. Earlier days, later days, but also the unpredictability. The best way to explain it is this. You always have to be a duck on water. Your feet are going to be paddling really fast, but everyone else is going to see you floating calmly, taking each challenge as it comes, right? So I'm going to do a day in the week and talk about a pretty typical week, capturing some of the pain points and successes that medical device reps will face, right? So day in the week, it's Monday. I got you there. We actually start Friday. So Friday the week before as we enter the week. Typically what I do is I look at the upcoming week that starts on Monday through Friday, and it's the past Friday. And I'm going to think about, what do I need for this upcoming week? What surgeries do I have scheduled? What product do I need to obtain? And what sales initiatives do I need to go drive? Is there any challenges I need to address or any fires I need to put out? But typically I'll start with the case coverage, because it's either going to be myself or my clinical specialist covering those, and I need to make sure that we have product. Some hospitals own the product, meaning they have it in their closets. Some hospitals we have to bring our own product, which typically means we have a bunch of product, in the garage or our car, so we're fine. But in medical devices, it's not like there's a unlimited supply of products. So that usually means you're allowed to have one or two of each surgical valve size or whatever you're selling. So you can't have a ton because there's hundreds of rep across the United States. So you have to do a really good job managing your inventory, meaning the previous week, if I used all my certain valves for a small patient, I need to make sure I'm replenished and ready for the upcoming week. So it's Friday, I'm making sure I have all my inventory. I'm also submitting my tentative schedule for case coverage so that we could allocate myself or my clinical specialist to cover those surgeries. So I submit that Friday, I wrap up the week, I let my team know Tuesday I have 3 cases at this hospital I will cover, and then Friday I have a case at this hospital, so I have 4 cases in the book, and I'm going to work for flipping cases, being a good sales rep, and I'm also going to be ready for any add-ons. Friday ends, I know Tuesday, Friday I have cases, and I need to figure out how to fill my Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday I typically have a standing meeting, so that's great. So how am I going to program sales initiatives? Is it lunches? Is it dinners? What can it look like? Is it drop-ins? So the weekend begins. It's Sunday. I'm getting ready for the week. I get a text from a hospital that doesn't usually call me, and they say, hey, we have a patient in the hospital. We want to do an emergent surgery Friday. You worked up this patient a few weeks ago. Are you ready? Can you be there? As a sales rep, all you say is, yes, we're looking forward to support. You get the patient information to review, you connect with a physician, you're ready. Later in that Sunday, the physician texts that they changed plans because the patient is really sick and they can't proceed with surgery. My plan is Monday morning, I didn't have anything planned. I had a meeting at 12. I'm still going to go to that hospital to catch up with the physician and the nursing team. Not many times we have the opportunity to be called there. Having a surgery is a great way to get in the hospital and glean information and do your sales approach while supporting a great surgical case. I'm going to take this opportunity, because my foot was in the door, to drive up there, to connect with a physician, to ask him questions. Hey, we haven't seen you in a while. What made you call us? Why this patient? And see what's happening. Typically, if there's a random call like this, something happened recently, so I need to get abreast of that information and see if I could drive the stake further and see how we could build momentum going forward. Another reason would be this patient, they're going to reschedule. So I need to get my claws, my sales talents into it and make sure that it comes back to us. For hospitals that are not using you too often, it's really easy for them to go back into the routine. Just, whatever the routine is that doesn't involve Matt. So I need to make sure they break from that routine and make sure that they get Matt in there for the case, right? So Monday comes, change of plans. I was supposed to be at a hospital at 12 for a meeting. I'm driving up to this other hospital, the other direction, meeting with anyone I can. And that's going to be all the key stakeholders, right? So typically for me, it's cardiologists, the surgeons, the valve program coordinators, the admin staff. I want to talk to the cath lab, get someone coffee just to hear what's happening in the lab, try to get, not the gossip, but just, how have things been, right? How are you guys? I'm going to try to wrap up that meeting and get to my other hospital for the 12 o'clock meeting. It's looking like I'm going to be a little late, so I'm going to see if I could have someone else start the meeting and then I come in. And typically this meeting is important because it's a very, Medtronic loyalist account, so I need to provide really good service. And one thing I think is they like seeing me there for those Monday meetings. So I'm going to do my best to be there, especially the tail end, so I can have conversations with the physicians, talk about the upcoming cases, see if there's any sales initiatives, and just manage the account. So I'm driving down to get to this meeting, about an hour drive. What am I doing in that hour drive? I'm talking to other reps across the country to see if there's any sales strategies that they are being successful with. I'm catching up with buddies in the LA market who might not be involved in my procedure just to see what trends are happening, if there's these large changes in insurance carriers, if physicians are moving, what the general currents are in the LA market. Or I'm listening to podcasts about basketball, about real estate, maybe about sales development, but I'm doing something to be productive. And sometimes I'm just listening to music and zoning out. Hour passes, I get to the meeting right on time. I'm lucky because the person I asked to cover got stuck in surgery, so they weren't going to be able to cover. So I walk into the meeting, we review patients for the upcoming weeks. I do my sales strategies and my recommendations of why I think my personal product, the product I represent, would benefit these patients. And we make a strategic plan of how we're going to treat these patients. I also follow up at the end of the meeting, seeing how the physicians are, the nurses, all the different people involved, and make sure that we're hitting, my strategic vision for this quarter, this week, but also for the upcoming weeks, right? They've been selected to be involved in clinical research. So for example, I'm meeting with a clinical research team to see how the onboarding process is going, if there's any issues, if they need to be connected to someone on the research team to address those issues. And I'm acting as a liaison, like a QB. This is my account, my team, and I'm plugging in different people to make sure that we are making things as smooth as possible and so that we could achieve our ideal targeted state. The day wraps up. I spend a lot of time in the hospital after the meetings just connecting with people, meeting with the service line to build those relationships. One, to address current needs, but also if there's any future issues or needs that I need to implement, I'm going to have those relationships. So I'm comfortable walking into the hospital, walking into someone's office and saying, hey, service line director, we have this contract. You said you'll have it signed. I know the other guys are taking 3 months. You've helped me a lot. What can we do? How can we get there in a faster timeline, right? Day ends, I always prioritize doing something for yourself, so I go to a basketball game, I play myself, great exercise, kind of clear my mind and get ready for the next day, Tuesday, which is going to be a busy day of cases at one hospital that I'm covering. So before the night concludes, I make sure that my car has all the product I need for tomorrow, that I also have backups. In medical devices, you're always worried about, what if I drop this valve or this product? Do I have another one? What if they change valve sizes? Do I have that one ready? Do I need to bring wires or balloons or whatever accessory items? And the answer is yes. For me personally, we have everything. So in case the hospital or I make a silly mistake like dropping a valve, we have a backup, no issue, don't worry. Tuesday starts, I get there early because I'm covering by myself, and what that means is I like to make sure the room's set up, that I have all the products identified, that I have the patient's report for their specific procedure ready for when the physicians come in. We're ready to go. So when the physician and the heart team is ready, I'm not holding them up. They have all the information they need succinctly to proceed with a safe surgery, right? And during the surgery, I already know potential forks in the road where they might ask for certain accessory items. And these accessory items are not manufactured by your company. They could be other companies. But as the rep for that case, you need to make sure that the wires that they possibly might need or whatever auxiliary accessories they need, you have laid out so that you can say, Doc, I hear you. Hey, nurse, scrub nurse, because usually they're going to be the ones that open. They don't want the reps opening the product unless you have a really good relationship. Circulating nurse, can you open this for the scrub nurse? They need this. 30 seconds, doctor has it, so there's not a delay. You're like, well, man, that makes sense. Well, sometimes they ask for something that's not in the room. So then you have to go across the hospital, grab something, and it's about a 5 to 10 minute delay. And it's not necessarily your fault, but this is, the Matt experience. So all of a sudden this delay gets tied into the Matt experience, and it shows up in the books. If you're, looking at the analytics, it's like, oh, this case took 70 minutes. They're not, and it's tied to the Matt experience, Matt product. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, well 10 minutes was because of this. Take ownership and deliver a good experience. We delivered that for the first case. Then there's turnover as we get ready for the second case. How can I be productive in that turnover? Well, first, just like the first case, I'm going to get ready for the second case. Have all the product laid out, all the reports, so I'm ready. And then I still have about 45 minutes. I'm going to try to get coffee with the physicians to talk about that case, review the next case, but also talk about something to move the sales strategy. And what can that be? I could ask them something just personal about relationships, build a relationship between them and I. How are their kids, or how is their family? How was their recent travels? But I also want to not just be their friend and try to move, my market share. I need to drive business. So how can I do that, right? Maybe I'm saying, hey, listen, I heard you had this issue. I want to solve it by connecting. I ask a lot of questions, but I think this idea, will get you to where you want to need. It depends on the account. We could talk about sales strategies in another call, but I'm thinking two things: friendship and relationships, which is one, and really pushing the sales strategy. A lot of reps, in the beginning, I did this too. I just wanted to be really cool. I wanted to be their friends, and that's great, and that gets some business. But you also need to leverage your relationship to implement and challenge where you think your product can fit. Second case happens. We're ready. All the accessories I identified, our products there. We have a great case. And then we eventually go into the third case. Between another break, maybe I have lunch with the staff just to build a relationship, kind of get some news of what's happening. We finish the third case, we're done. Monday, Tuesday hasn't been that abnormal. It's just, 2 regular days. Wednesday, I have planned coffee with a referring physician to educate. I planned that about Monday, shot him a quick text. It's a good relationship, so I felt comfortable texting and on short notice. Sometimes your harder physicians or physicians you don't know, you need to work with an office manager or someone to schedule a lunch for the whole staff so you can have like 3 minutes with them. This was a little bit different. This is a relationship I've had for 10 years. I texted to catch up. I wanted to really, talk about some new products, new data. Wednesday will be that and kind of an admin day, and then I want to stop into a hospital unannounced. I think it's nice for physicians and teams to see you because they know you're still alive, and they're like, oh, we need to break this habit, get Matt in here. Tuesday concludes. I'm thinking I'm going to have a little bit more straightforward day, the sales, which I enjoy. Late at night, 6 p.m., I get a text. Urgent case tomorrow, this account, we want you there. We have no information. You'll pick up everything in the morning, which is typically different than the process because usually, we do all this pre-work for these cases. They get scheduled 2 to 30 days out, 2 weeks to 30 days out, and we're ready and we can prepare. So I'm like, okay, my whole day has changed for Wednesday. So how do I go about this? This is good because they're going to use my product, which as a sales rep, that's the most important thing. So do I need to be there? And in this case, yes, it's a competitive account. I want to have that relationship with the physician. I want to move business because that is the most opportunity. Referring physician that I had coffee scheduled with, shoot them a text. Doc, my day changed. I have an add-on surgery I have to cover. Can we shoot for next week? Physicians understand. They have the same reasons too. Hey, I got called for a heart attack, STEMI. Hey, clinic's running late. Can we reschedule? So they understand. I used to feel bad, but it is what it is. If the meeting was with a crucial director of the cath lab or someone you really needed to meet and it took a lot to get there, then you would have to decide, okay, what can I do to keep this meeting and send someone else for coverage? And you kind of do the pros and the cons and you make a decision. And that's as a rep, you need to make the decision to drive your business. Your manager or other people are going to say, no, you need to do this or that. And you need to advocate for your territory, your physicians and your patients. Say, listen, I understand. I'm going to send this person to cover the case. I'm going to have coffee. I'm going to come after. This way we have a great case. I can talk to the physician, but more importantly, I could drive this meeting. In this case, I decided to reschedule the meeting and I will cover the case. When I'm down there, I'm going to think about, okay, this is about 90 minutes away. I'm going to get there early so I could work up the surgery and have everything ready. It's a little bit of a competitive account. The team is awesome, but they don't know me, so I need to make sure that We have different things ready for my procedure, which could be a little bit different than the competitor. So I want to make sure everything's smooth, because having Matt there is already a little bit different than their normal routine. We have a great case. This physician, after the case, I'll have some sales conversations. Typically, before the case, I just want to talk about the procedure, the watch outs, and how we get to a good result. I'm not doing sales strategy. Maybe I'm BSing and talking a little bit, asking about the recent trip or soccer, but I'm not getting into the hard conversations until after the case. Partly for me, very rare, if we have a bad case, I don't want that on my mind, and then I know not to have a conversation after, but my expectation is 100% of the time we have a good case, then the opportunity to talk and drive the initiatives. And I talked a little bit about account management, but knowing the strategies at each account and what the levers are to pull to get to where you need. And that's moving market share in your favor. We have a good case, and because I drove 90 miles and I know that there's some neighboring hospitals, I'm going to hit those on the way home. I'm going to do some drop-in. So the original drop-in I had planned, I'm not going to do because I'm in a different area, but I'm going to drop in with some friendly accounts and some competitive accounts. And my facade is, hey, just checking on inventory, making sure you guys are good. And when I'm in there, I'm like a mouse in the house, and I'm going to get all the information about what's happening, what their current numbers are, how much of the competitor they're using, if there's any issues, or, and that's helpful, right? Because if my manager calls me and says, hey, this hospital C, you haven't been there for 6 weeks. Typically, you're there every 4 weeks. What's up? I get in there and I find out that one of the doctors got married and went on a 4-week honeymoon, which is a little bit rare, but could happen. I could relay that to my manager and say, listen, totally understand. They haven't been doing TAVRs. They've been on vacation, and there was also spring break. So now all of a sudden, we can quantify the issue and move forward. So that's kind of my strategy. On the way home, I get a call from a rep saying, Matt, I need something. And it's like, well, what do you need? Like, when do you need it? Matt, I need it tomorrow. I totally forgot. I need someone's signature. There's a physician in your territory that's coming out to my hospital. I need their signature and some credentials, meaning I need their COVID vaccine or whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I'll help you. I know you got a case and this physician needs this stuff. How long have you had this case, though? He's like, oh, Matt, we have it scheduled for 6 weeks. I just forgot. And you're just kind of like, dude, you give me 6 hours notice. But it's perfect because it's on the way home. So on the way home, you stop at this physician's clinic. You wait as he gets through his patients. You're a little bit peeved because you're like, I saw him Monday. I could have done this for you then. But you're a good team player, right? There's more that goes into being a good sales rep. It's hitting quota, it's delivering, and it's creating sustainable growth, but it's also being a good team player. And I'm going to talk about that tomorrow when something unusual happens, but today it's like, okay, I will help you get the signature. Even though it doesn't benefit me, I don't think that way. It benefits the territory, the district, and I'm going to help him, and it's also my physician and my relationship. So at the clinic, I'm able to get the documents, get the signature, send it to my partner rep in a different territory, so he's good to go tomorrow with our physician. The day ends. Thursday was going to be an admin day and kind of a sales strategy as I prepare for my Friday, which was the last case. However, Wednesday night, someone calls. They were supposed to have a clinical with them. There was cases added, which is good, again, for the district. And they said, Matt, I would love to have you join me for this case. It's a competitive physician. It's a really difficult case. Can you join? And typically, in this case, you can say yes or no. And for the most part, you're going to say yes, especially if you don't have any cases or anything scheduled that's really important. And I'm going to take this opportunity to join this rep for their case. It doesn't go on my scorecard for revenue or implants or whatever it is, but it builds goodwill. It's a team player, and they need help. Of course, they could do it alone, but sometimes in these cases, it's better to have 4 hands, 2 people, right, involved, just to kind of catch all the nuances, and one person could kind of run this and the other person could run this point. So Thursday, I keep clear, and I would join my partner at this hospital, and again, we have a great case. I get home mid-afternoon. I'm going to get ready for Friday. Friday comes, I'm with my clinical, so it's a little bit of a different dynamic. I'm going to let him or her, run the case, prep the room, have the conversations clinically about the case with the physicians. And then my role as a sales rep, what can I do to drive business? We're going to have a good case. I feel great with my clinicals. I don't need to focus 100% on the case, but I'm having conversations with everyone, the key players again, to drive business forward. Friday ends. We have a great case. The clinical and I are like, you know what, let's go get lunch. So we have lunch. We call it a little bonding business meeting. We talk a little bit about business and a lot about just fun in life. We depart. It's been a busy week. We get back home. I tell him or her, thank you, awesome week. I'll send the schedule out later. Your teammates want to know the schedule so they can plan the week. It's not fun finding out hours or night before. So I do right by them and I get my schedule out quickly. Friday afternoon, I talked about, it's kind of a full circle ending, right? So Friday afternoon, I'm looking at next week, sending the schedule out to my team, what clinicals or who I want there, where I will be, and what I need to do to hit my number. So this is a little bit different than the day in the life in the sense that, it's action-packed and you follow me, but I really want to talk about the day in the week, which is really important. I wanted to capture a little bit of the unpredictability, how as a rep you're asked to support other territories, even though it's not tied to your revenue. At the end of the day, you're on the district. It's a team. You care about the patient outcomes and you want to do whatever you can to get to that, right? Medical devices is fantastic. What you notice in these conversations is the mornings start early, they start late. Sometimes the days go long, especially if you're doing dinners. This week I didn't have any dinners scheduled. I try to do dinners every other week. But there's a little bit of unpredictability. There's a lot of free time if you were paying attention, but it's what do you do in that free time to drive your number? You can't just cover one surgery and be done for the week. You always got to be doing drop-ins, setting up meetings, and all those different things. So for example, during the evenings of the week I just discussed, I'm thinking about, okay, I want to do this massive dinner in 2 weeks. I want to bring these referring physicians to support this implanting physician. I need to start driving invites. Do I need to send texts, phone calls? Do I need to go in person? So you always need to take ownership of your sales number. You can't just sit back, and you're always thinking about what can I do to get there. And what's really great about medical device sales is you have a really great quarter. You're the champion. You're the hero. Quarter's 90 days. Everyone's sending you praises. You get some award being the top plan maker. You're progressing to this P Club, which is the highest award for a sales rep that everyone knows. Quarter ends. You were the man. It starts all over. You're at the bottom. Everyone's at the bottom. No one remembers what you did, right? So as a sales rep, you are always starting over every 90 days, and you always need to produce. You can't live on the past laurels because it's the present and going forward, and you need to keep producing. So maybe you had some success, maybe it was lucky, maybe it was some short term, but how do you create long-term sustainable success where you could absorb challenging problems that come and have ways to hit plan? And let me tell you an example. Your number one hospital that does 50% of your revenue in business, the main physicians are traveling for Congress and speaking engagements 50% of those 90 days. This is not made up. Have you done a good enough job from the previous 12 months to absorb that loss of revenue? Do you have other little accounts that could contribute a little bit of cases and revenue spread out so you could have a plan to hit this quarter and then come back roaring? These are the challenges. This is a day in the week of a sales rep. Thank you for watching. Medical Device Matt. We'll be back. I get a lot of great feedback. That means a lot. So if you love this video, comment, shoot me questions. It's been a really fun process. Take care.